Hello. I didn't die. Yeah, sorry, I've been gone a minute, haven't I? But I do have a theme for the worst of 2023 this year. I don't know what it is, but there always seems to be some kind of common thread that I can connect the worst releases of the year to. This year was absolutely no exception. This one's actually kind of special in a weird way, in that the theme for my worst list is also the exact same theme for my best list too, and that theme is... Like, for real, what the hell even was 2023? Whether you loved or hated the year in music, no one can argue that it wasn't... unique? Is that the word I'm looking for? So many artists in every different genre struck out in bold new directions, experimented with genre, scale, and concept. It almost feels like everyone just took their standard playbooks and threw the whole thing in the fireplace and just said, fuck it, we ball. Paramore went post-punk, Olivia Rodrigo made a full-blown rock album, Lil Yachty took a stab at 70s psychedelia, and 100 Gex made the best nu metal record I've heard in decades. Shut up, I'm right! The point being that whatever you thought of 2023, nothing was off limits. Man, I mean nothing. It felt like every third artist was competing to out-weird one another. And you know, that's, in a way, kind of awesome. I mean, isn't that what we want to see out there? It's great to see so many folks step outside their comfort zone for a change. Hell, some of the biggest hits this year came from artists who threw the sickest curveballs in their sound. And overall, I mean, yeah, you want artists to experiment and grow and think outside the box. Experimentation is the life of creativity. But it can also be the death of creativity if you're not careful about it. Big risks can lead to big rewards, and for a lot of folks in 2023 it did, but for a lot of them, it didn't, and this list is filthy with experiments that went wrong. And for as much as I respect an artist thinking outside the box, some of the folks that made this list thought outside of the box, outside of the room, and outside of the Earth's goddamn atmosphere. They thought too far outside. You can go too far out of the box, you know what I mean? Hell, I was actually continuing my policy from last year where I didn't purposefully seek out trash records. And even despite not really listening to a lot of garbo this year, a lot of it still made its way onto my periphery regardless. But that is also to stress, I did not hear everything this year. Please remember that, people, especially when it comes to the worst list. Obvious dunks like the new Stained album, that Shania Twain record that everyone hates for some reason, Louis Capaldi, Lil Pump, AJR, Drake, 6ix9ine, these assholes. Yeah, didn't bother, not gonna bother, and you can't fucking make me. But some disasters, I don't know, some of this stuff was hard for even me to ignore. It was another weird year, and we got another weird handful of picks here, so without further adu, dishonorable mentions.
1600 block. I just wanna rock. I just wanna
You see what I mean here? There's a small part of me that wants to give Uzi a little bit of credit here. After Eternal Atake, I never learned how to properly pronounce it, but this boring ass record doesn't deserve to be pronounced properly. After that record, my expectations weren't exactly high, and I will say this record was a bit more interesting than the last one, but like, it was interesting for all the wrong reasons. I mean, even folks that are generally warmer than I am on Lil Uzi Vert seem to not know what the hell to do with this record. The weird as hell feature list had folks like Nicki Minaj and Travis Scott sharing track space with folks like Bring Me the Horizon and Baby Metal. I think the best word to describe this album would be clumsy. You know, a rap rock hybrid record could have absolutely worked here. There's no immediate reason why it shouldn't. Hell, this could have been Lil Uzi's best record to date, and it could have finally given him some actual identity. And God bless him, he sure did try, but just because you tried doesn't mean you succeeded, people. How many times do I have to tell you this? It sounds like Uzi either didn't have a clear vision for what he wanted this record to be, or his vision got muddled and polluted to death by the avalanche of producers he's working with on this thing. All of the features are phoned in. The styles he's trying to blend mix like oil and fire. And you know what really kills it all is his performances.
You wanted to. Have to scope the pen away and shake up. You wanted to. Want you in the keys up on the table. You wanted to. I don't think you trust.
Man, if you're gonna bring that shit to karaoke night, please just do aerials instead. I mean, again, I'm glad he experimented. A+ for effort. This is not the worst hip-hop album on my list by a long shot even, but I'm sorry, it's enough of a fumble to wind up on this list.
I'm learning how to love me more, just a little bit. Love me more.
You know, I outright said I didn't go out of my way to look for bad music in 2023, but I only have myself to blame for listening to a goddamn Sam Smith record. Smith is one of those artists where I just never saw the appeal. It's just never clicked for me, even at the best of times. You know, I like giving artists the chance to impress me. I don't want to write off every single new band or artist or whatever just because I don't like their initial offerings. You know, I'll stay with you for a little bit, see if you are gonna try something new or make that record that does make me understand it. Especially if you're going for like a bold new change, or if you're gonna try to pull up a sexy, taboo-pushing reinvention of yourself. Okay, I'll give it a chance. I don't want to write you off, especially if you're gonna try a sexy new reinvention. I will write you off if the sexy new invention is just a fucking lie. God, it feels like ages since Unholy was tearing up the charts, doesn't it? It doesn't even feel like it was this year. Remember earlier in 2023 when that was the big hot button issue of the day, and like everyone was all up in arms about how offensive it was and blah blah blah, that stupid dumb argument we have every 3 to 6 fucking months about some dumb thing. The news went up in a frenzy. It hit #1 on the charts. The anticipation for this sexy new heel turn had everybody all aflutter. And then the album came out and it's the same vanilla yogurt shit this person always puts out. Outside of Unholy, this is that same mall speaker bullshit. That non-binary mofo owes Kim Petras a fucking fruit basket for life. Just an absolute unseasoned chicken of an album, this thing. Again, credit to Lil Uzi Vert. He at least told us he was gonna flip the script, and then actually flipped it. Sam Smith told us they were flipping the script and just lied. I'm sure once your mom got over how filthy Unholy was, this record was probably her favorite for like 2 months, and then she forgot about it. The rest of us forgot about this thing much sooner.
Last night we let the liquor talk. I can't remember everything we said, but we said.
I'm putting this on the list solely because it's too fucking long. Not one of you has the guts to try. I'm sorry, but when, merciful Jesus, when is the stream trolling trend gonna stop? Stream trolling is just the ruination of popular music. Is Morgan Wallen talented? Sure. Honestly, the better side of his catalog? I don't necessarily mind it, as long as I'm not paying close enough attention or reading the news or whatever. I'm just saying, I don't immediately dislike everything this guy's ever done, okay? I'm not an outright hater. When I'm in a derpy kind of mood, I can put on some of his better tracks and appreciate the vibe. He's a bit overhyped, if I'm being honest, but I understand the appeal, at least when he's putting his best foot forward. but I don't give a goddamn if it's the most beautiful, pristine foot in the history of mankind. I don't want to stare at it for 2 hours straight. Get your foot out of my goddamn face! This bit sounds really weird out of context. Is this gonna get me demonetized? Do I have to bleep this? Are there good songs on this album? Sure, but I don't even marginally care because let's be generous and say 6 passable songs on this thing are smothered, absolutely suffocating under a mountain of flabby, lifeless, pointless filler and B-sides. You know what? No, I take that back. This record isn't flabby. Flabby is 3 or 4 songs that shouldn't be on the record. This thing is morbidly obese. This record's family needs to have an intervention quick. This is the musical equivalent of, I wash myself with a rag on a stick. I mean, look, I didn't let Zach Bryan off the hook when he pulled this shit last year, and Zach Bryan is a much better musician than Morgan Wallen is, so I'm sure as hell not gonna forgive him for this crap. Come on, all of y'all, knock this shit out. Oh boy, this one. You know, I honestly wasn't that super hard on this in my initial review. I wasn't super kind, but I didn't think I was gonna find a place on the list proper for this, but honestly, with time, this one kind of soured on me. The more I sat with it, the more its ugly features and the places where it doesn't work just really kind of festered with me. The production does absolutely nothing flashy, and in fact actually does drop the ball in a few places, particularly when it comes to vocal mixing. It's definitely not the worst produced record of the year, but the production absolutely robs the record of some of its bigger potential punches. But the band's not really giving them much to work with anyway. The bog standard riffs and solos and deathcore breakdowns. I don't know, to me a lot of this record just felt like we gotta get this fucking thing out. I don't know, a lot of it just feels weirdly phoned in. And not to mention Eddie's vocals too, like, ugh. Like I said in the original Fimi, he sounds like he's barely hanging on these days. He doesn't have nearly the same amount of range or intensity that he used to have. His growl is probably the worst it's been since, well, you know. I mean, is it as bad as that record? Hell no, thank God. But this band sounds like they're absolutely past their prime at this point. I'm more or less convinced we're never gonna get a great Suicide Silence record again. Maybe they'll release a couple better albums, but I don't know. We're never gonna get a fantastic record from these guys again. I mean, I hate to sound mean, but like, y'all, it's been nearly a decade since their last really good record. I hope they get better, but I won't expect greatness out of Suicide Silence anymore.
It's spinning me out every time. It fuels my fire within. I want you.
Oh, hush, I know. Look, it was a weird year. And even Godsmack was out here doing a kinda weird move. This was gonna be their last record of new material, at least. And you know, it's honestly pretty rare for a band in this particular genre, at least, to give us this much heads up about it. I knew it wasn't gonna be album of the year or anything, but you know, it's their swan song. It's their last big crack at greatness. I figured they'd at least try to go out with a bang. I mean, for all the smack that we talk about this band, it's not like they've never had any original ideas. Voodoo, Straight Out of Line. Hell, as much as I hate the Bad Religion song, sing along if you know the words, it's just one note.
Why are you people serious?
But even there, that's at least a bad song that's still fascinating. I figured they'd have to try something crazy again, just for old time's sake. Again, it's your last hurrah. Go out with a bang, swing for the cheap seats. Do something, do anything. Yeah, what do you think happened here? I ain't gotta tell you what happened here. You know exactly what happened here. It's the same old fart dad, divorced ass, Ford F-150, fucking Weekend Warrior horseshit they've been doing for 15 years now. Just not even a single reason to care. Last record you're ever gonna make. Now, why put effort into that? Man, you know, especially in 2023 where everyone and their mother was doing weird, goofy shit, for Godsmack to stick to the same old bullshit, while not surprising, is still, like, very disappointing, and they have double the excuse to go nuts here, too. But like Sully has full-blown said in interviews, they're out of ideas. You want my opinion? They should have stopped doing this shit like 10 years ago. Hell, 20 years ago. You know, maybe y'all shouldn't have even started to begin with. And there we go. That's the stuff that was close to being full ick, but didn't quite make the list. Now we gotta go into the list, so y'all brace for this. Number 10.
Fucking this bitch like a perm. Smack on the back of a perm. Ice, the bird, shitting on all you.
You know, I'm kind of glad I'm getting off the new release circuit. There is a part of me that does enjoy getting my initial thoughts out there in the wild. At least when I have initial thoughts to give. I don't know, some records. But the biggest bugbear in reviewing new releases is that you just can't account for what time does to a record in those moments. Some albums really do require those extra few weeks or months to stew in your memory. And this was one of those records where I absolutely needed time to stew on it. I think I originally gave this like a 5 out of 10? Am I remembering that right? But looking back on it now, it's more like 5 out of 10, Crash? That generous? The hell were you smoking past Crash? This one definitely soured on me more after Fuck You Mean became one of the songs of the summer. Oh my god, how in the hell did we let Fuck You Mean become an actual hit? Fuck what Past Me was smoking. What the hell were y'all smoking? It was sitting with this one that really got me to turn on it. It was still a fairly new release when I tackled it in Femi Quarter 2. I think my initial impression was more, it sucks, but it's a great big nothing burger and I'll never have to hear about it ever again. And then I heard it over and over and over and over again. Yeah, it's another one of those nothing burger records that has zero excuse to be a nothing burger. This was the first record coming off of the YSL trial. Gunna had to have had a wellspring of material to talk about here, and for 90% of this album, he just doesn't even mention it. And on the very brief moments where he does mention the really juicy stuff, he's super cagey, super whiny, ultra defensive about everything. I mean, I suppose I do kind of get why, but it still makes for a boring as hell listen. I was harsh to the Lil Uzi Vert record, but again, credit where it's due there. They did try to do something unique. This is the same ass Gunna sausage that he's been churning out since like 2016. Fuck y'all for making Fuck You Mean a hit. Like, come on. I was so sick of hearing this song by the end of the year. Yeah. Number 9. The meme clip played in your head without me even having to reference it, didn't it? I'm begging.
Sip the gossip, drink till you choke. Sip the gossip, burn down your throat.
I know it's supposed to be a Coke bottle, but Jones was the best I could do at short notice. Imagine having that great of a head start to your international career. Imagine having both the Eurovision win and all the memes too. You have that kind of winning combination for success in the rock market, and you just don't do a damn thing with it? Again, this is another one where I was much kinder to it in my initial review. Hell, didn't I outright say this wasn't gonna make the worst of the year list? It's definitely a candidate for the mez of 2023 list. Maybe even a candidate for the worst. Ha! Dumbass. But again, it's criminal how much of a huge shot these guys were given and just didn't do a goddamn thing with. They had some real talent in the production room with them too, and it still didn't help. But I can lay most of the blame on them because, man, there just wasn't much here to work with. While their guitarist is fairly talented, the rest of the band is a wash. The rhythm section is an absolute lost cause, with empty filler drums and a bass player who... You know, if you translate this to Morse code, I think this actually in Italian means, somebody teaching me how to play this thing, hey! But honestly, what pushed it over the edge for me was a lot of the lyrics on this thing. Some of it is the whole English as a second language thing going on here, and I don't want to come down on them too hard for that. But like, even if they got the best translator in the world to work with them here, it would still sound like... AC/DC's smelly cousin they don't like to talk to at the family reunion. They're going for the sleazy 70s retro rocker vibe, and that is such a low goal to hit. Anybody could hit that. A lot of folks hit that goal without even fucking trying. But instead of just embracing the machismo and going whole hog on their aesthetic, a lot of the lyrics here, it's whining about their fame, whining about the haters, stuff about their weird Eurovision niche drama. For example, I got the lyrics to Feel wrong in my original review. They weren't actually singing about cocaine, which, okay, fine, you got me. But you realize that makes the song even worse, right? Oh, we don't do drugs. We were pretending to do drugs because we are rock stars. We don't do drugs. We're on Eurovision. Homie. Homie. Bruh. You got an actual bruh out of me. I hope you're happy. I mean, I know a lot of folks had high expectations for these guys, and they do have their fans. I certainly learned that with my initial review. I don't know, y'all. At best, this was a nothing burger, and at worst, it actually got pretty actively annoying. In a world where Greta Van Fleet already exists, this record is just completely unnecessary. I don't care how many angry Italian comments I get, y'all are wrong, y'all need to deal with it, and this is your punishment for not helping Big Gay Hulk win Eurovision this year. Yeah, I'm still on that bullshit. Finland got absolutely robbed. Number 8.
I think we need a break. I think I need to move. I think this isn't safe. Why the hell you...
I know. I think I said I was gonna play nice when I tackled this on Femi Quarter 2. But again, the more I sat with it, the more this one just went sour on me. A lot of albums like that this year. And again, like with Gunna, I think the thing that pushed it over the edge was the fact that it's just the same tired, recycled old thing we've come to expect out of this guy in a year where you really should have taken your shot, dude. Gunna makes generic raps about getting money and fucking bitches. Macklemore makes generic raps about being a corny-ass white dude. Two different sides of the exact same coin, of the very boring, very dull coin. But as different as these two albums are, I feel like I dislike them for a lot of the same reasons. Maybe in a different year, this might not have rubbed off so poorly on me, but again, 2023 was the year where you needed to take your shot. And Macklemore, again, not changing a goddamn thing since 2012, from a style that, let's be real, got tired by 2013. And again, sure, I have only myself to blame for listening to this one, but just because you don't have great expectations for an artist doesn't mean they can't surprise you. Again, look at Lil Yachty. People were already starting to talk about him like his best days were behind him, but then he drops this weird as hell prog rock power stoner fantasy ass record out of literally nowhere and knocks it out of the park. Low expectations are no excuse, especially in 2023, they were no excuse. some of those low expectation artists surprised me so much, they're gonna end up on the best list this year. Is Lil Yachty actually gonna show up on the best list? I don't know, stick around and find out, why don't you? Hopes weren't high for Macklemore, but 2023 was the year to work against the odds. And the artists that did that, most of them at least, cashed out big. The fact that he didn't even try, well, I knew not to get my hopes up, and somehow it was still really, really disappointing. Just not a single other idea floating around in that guy's head. If you shake him, he probably sounds like a rattle going off. Just... Number 7.
Hate when I start to get too much, hate when I start to get caught up, hate when I go too far, gotta pick up arms to protect myself.
But okay, like Macklemore, you get why he shows up on a worst list, right? That makes sense. What the hell happened to the Used, though? They really should not be here. I mean, sure, their big moment came and went a long time ago, but I've kept light tabs on them since their heyday. I've even reviewed a few of the later albums here and there. While it's never been as amazing as In Love and Death Ever Again, they at least stayed solid enough to vibe to. There was never anything that made me wince. I never had any idea to think that they would show up on a worst list. So what the hell happened on this record? Well, I'll tell you what happened. Cynicism happened here. A big old heaping helping of that good old 2020s I hate everything cynicism, which, okay, completely fair. The early 2020s has been traumatizing for literally everyone. But after sitting through a record like this a few times that's so late to the whole everything and everybody sucks parade, and it's not like I don't understand the cynicism here, but it's just so fucking dreadful to sit through. It's just such a pain in the ass. Really makes me wonder how a lot of that immediate post-pandemic stuff is gonna age. I don't know, maybe it's more of a me thing, but I am just so over stuff that's so pissingly cynical, it makes me want to die. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I got enough of that shit in my life as it is. I don't need Burt friggin' McCracken adding to the pile. But yeah, that old 2020 cynicism must have hit Burt McCracken like a shovel to the back of the head, because this thing is just nothing but... The tracks are stuff like I hate everybody, worst I've ever been, giving up, people are vomit, cry for help, calling it quits. And you know, the music itself isn't honestly that bad. I mean, it's still kind of the same 6 out of 10 Used material that they've been doing for a while now, but it's like fine. The raw instrumentation is everything I'd come to expect from a latter Used record. The production is more or less okay. Everyone else is doing everything they can to try and prop this thing up, but God, nothing can save it from the absolutely toxic vibes coming off of it. I know that was the intention. I don't care how positive the toxicity is. It's still toxic and it still just sucks. The record is just poisonously jaded, and it doesn't come off so much as like tortured or suffering as much as it does whiny. And that's coming from me. Y'all know I love whiny albums. I may be the whiniest goddamn critic on YouTube. I love whiny shit. I am the epitome of whiny shit. Give me a cookie right now or I'll cry. Someone please give this man a hug so he can go back to writing decent bars, please. Number 6. Oh, y'all, this one's just funny. Pop punk band tries to be all edgy and like dark and hardcore, but it doesn't even slightly work? Who'd have fucking thought? This was Waterpark's attempt at making like dark, really intense music. Fucking Waterparks. Waterparks. Do I have to say anything else? Waterparks. You look like this. You named the band Waterparks. When I say your name, I literally think of this. I mean, look at this. I don't know, man. Does this look dark and edgy to you? How the hell do you be dark and edgy at a water park? Okay, I was not prepared for that answer. Yeah, this is obviously one of those ideas that's dead from the word go, but even then, I'm kind of shocked at how ineffective they were at trying to pull this off. The production is doing them absolutely no favors. Granted, they're still using the same pop-punky team that they've been using for their last 3 records, so like, I don't know, if you want a big, dark, heavy shift in sound, maybe the guys who did Unwanted by Pale Waves, Hotel California by Hollywood Undead, and Still Sucks by Limp Bizkit weren't the best choice, but like all the instrumentation and the performances here are also trash. Some of the songwriting ideas and concepts are downright amateurish in places. Like this is stuff that sounds like it's coming out of a first-time group, not someone that's been around for nearly a decade. Songs cut in and out of different themes and tones and styles all the time. Nothing is consistent. In the latter half of this album, they just give up on the premise entirely and hope you'll just pretend like the first half of the record didn't exist. It's almost adorable how embarrassing it is. This album is 3 kids in a black trench coat trying to sneak into goth night. So inept, it kinda circles back around to being cute. It's like when a cat gets its head stuck in a glass of water, just like, aw, you little bugger. But I mean, again, I almost kinda have to give them credit. 2023 was the year where you take your big risks, and these guys took their risk. And it absolutely did not pay off at all. These guys are trying to be 9 Inch Nails, but they're fucking Nickelodeon. Hell, these guys are so Nickelodeon, I just remembered they named one of their albums Double Dare. Remember that? Y'all wanted to be dark. How dare you try something like this? Mark Summers would be so disappointed. Number 5.
I woke up on the wrong side of the truck bed this morning with a bone dry bottle of.
Fuck you for ruining the Royal Rumble, you choke. I'm sorry. On this one, I just caved. Said I wasn't gonna chase down bad music, and pretty much everyone I knew or saw talk about this thing warned me off of it. I knew what I was getting myself into, but god damn it, my morbid curiosity just got the better of me. I don't know, after that Royal Rumble performance, I just had to know, he can't be this bad in reality, right? He's just a terrible live act or something. And to be fair, no, he doesn't actually sound like that. If anything, he sounds worse. What the shit? This is 61 minutes of half-ass, self-satisfied, fake country-ass dreck. And okay, 61 minutes, not the longest piece of crap I've had to sit through, but at least Morgan Wallen had a few good songs on that record. This is back to front, 61 minutes of just pure shit. And like, okay, yes, it's technically a double album, and as far as double albums go, that's actually pretty generous, but y'all, oh, sitting through this thing, it felt 3 times as long. It may have been shorter than the Morgan Wallen record, but it felt so much longer. And honestly, the record's big Achilles heel is its whole half country, half rock concept, because both sides of it are so half-baked they could be shit-ass versions of Ben and Jerry's flavors. And the cliches in the lyrics, my god, the never-ending waterfall of cliches. All the basic-ass country boy references and cliched-ass topics he writes about, it's all so hackneyed and done to death. You've heard dozens of other artists do better with the material he's working with here. In fact, a lot of his lyrics are so generic and lazy, it makes me wonder if he didn't just program a bunch of stuff into DALL-E and let it go wild. Did you just put a bunch of bro country shit into ChatGPT, you lazy motherfucker? It's also the most transparent kind of pandering too. Just window glass pandering. You can see right through it. If you actually did grow up country, or did grow up white trash, and you can instantly smell the bullshit coming off of this guy's lyrics and his presentation. This is country boy cosplay, and motherfucker, you ain't even that good at it. Hell, I'll say it, this thing is faker than that damn Water Parks record. It's a cynical ass faker singing about a lifestyle he doesn't actually live and gives precisely 2 actual shits about. I mean, we rightly gave Walker Hayes a lot of shit for his fake poverty shtick, but at least he had some other ideas on his full length. This album, it's an entire track list of fancy likes. It's 61 minutes of fancy likes. And they're all being performed by the worst Kid Rock impersonator you've ever had. Fuck this We Have Bob Ritchie at Home motherfucker, and fuck you for ruining the Royal Rumble.
Number 4.
In the name of love, one more in the name.
Okay, I know. I shouldn't be so hard on U2. I mean, they've been at it for almost 50 years at this point. So what? They wanted to do something a little self-indulgent and just release a bunch of self-covers? Is that what you'd call this thing? But what's the harm in that, Crash? Seriously, how is that so wrong? Man, if only this had been the first time U2 had been a little self-indulgent. Speaking as a long time and long-suffering U2 fan, an actual fan of this band, I'm sorry, I'm getting real sick of their wankery. I really am. And this album is almost 3 hours of non-stop wankery. God, even at my most horny and desperate, I couldn't go for 3 hours. And on this record, Bono looks like he's upset that you didn't let him go for 5. This thing is basically trying to be an MTV Unplugged album, except the album isn't live, it isn't acoustic, and it's not performed in an intimate setting. In fact, their most recent shows, I think this counts as the least intimate setting known to man. It's just a bunch of old man versions of all their young man anthems. It's another move that comes off as more desperate than endearing, and U2 have had a lot of those here recently. They meant for this album to be a big celebration of their career, but this album, in tandem with that fuck-awful book Bono also put out, yes, I actually went out and read the book too. I told you I was a long-suffering fan. This whole enterprise just feels like a desperate attempt to try to be young again. Which, hey, you know, look at me. I'm getting dangerously close to 40. I'm starting to feel it. I mean, I get it. Getting old sucks. But re-recording all your old hits to make them sound like they'd be more appropriate for nursing homes, it's not how you age gracefully here, guys. To me, this record is probably the second most unnecessary album of the entire year, and a grim reminder of where U2 is as a creative force right now. They are stuck in this sloshy, slumpy, hackneyed, and desperately uncreative place. And as of this writing, their Songs of era has been going for almost a fucking decade now. U2 has been wallowing in nostalgia about themselves since 2014. If y'all keep this shit up, you're going to turn into Kiss. I still love this band. I'll still stick up for the good stuff. And yeah, believe it or not, that How to Get Into is probably gonna happen someday. God help me. But if they keep this shit up, wow, that proceed with caution section is gonna get pretty dire.
Number 3.
Got me stuck.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Who the hell let you back in here? What the hell are you doing here? You are not allowed to be in here anymore. No, you go away. You stay fucking gone. The music world threw your ass in the garbage years ago after that insult of a record, America, and the rest of the popular consciousness put your ass in the trash after all the harassment of co-stars, the myriad of sexual misconduct allegations, the weird cult you've apparently been trying to start for years but are too incompetent to actually get going. No. We are a quarter past done with your ass. Get in the fucking bin, you fucking creepy freakazoid. Hell, calling you a freakazoid is an insult to the actual freakazoid. I mean, look at this guy. Paul Rugg would never send me a dead rat in the mail. So like, yeah, it would have still been fuck you even if the music had been album of the year material. But we didn't have to worry about that now, did we? Y'all, I can't believe I'm even saying this in the year of our Lord current year argument. It's Just America Part 2. I can't believe they had the balls to do it. It's the same shtick as last time, which means I have to pull an old bit out of the hat, which got tired around 2019. It's another album that was eaten by the Imagine Dragon.
Please let me die.
It's weird how bad it is at even trying to pull that off. America did a better job. Everything on here is just so wispy and insubstantial. It doesn't even come close to any of the material they're trying to crib from, and they're trying to crib from themselves. It's an album that somehow feels even more anemic than the original America did. That's almost impressive in a bizarro world kind of way. And that was an album that gave me so little to talk about, I had to do the review in my pajamas just so there'd be something to it. At least it's mercifully short, but even that doesn't count as points for this thing. They disappear for 6 years off the back of one of their worst records ever. And not only do they not improve, not only do they even have the decency to become awful in a more interesting way, they're just releasing the same shit that made us turn on them in the first place. If you told me this whole record was just rehashed B-sides from the America sessions, I'd believe you. And I know some of you are gonna say, well, Crash, you shouldn't have wasted your time with this either. But like, I don't know, like I said in my America review, there was, granted it was a long time ago, but there was a time where this band wasn't awful. I still have nostalgia for some of those early 30 Seconds to Mars records. But I also remember when this band was a band and not an excuse for creepy Jared and his equally creepy brother to try and lure your children to an island.
Number 2.
You are the angel of death, and I am the dead man.
Remember when I cryptically said Songs of Surrender was the second most unnecessary album of the year? Say hello to the first. We really are starting to see some of the worst ideas bred out of the pandemic come out of the woodwork now, aren't we? Roger Waters apparently had a little too much fun covering his old work when he released that short little Lockdown Sessions EP last year. Kind of a unfortunate trend amongst boomer acts, isn't it? So he decided, hey, why don't I make an entire album like this? Yeah, sure. Why don't I remake one of my band's greatest crowning achievements, one of the best albums of the 70s, and make the whole thing sound like the Crypt Keeper has gone off his meds and is rambling to himself in the corner of an old country buffet?
We can help you get more for your money, whether it's mutual fiends you want or cold, hard cash.
Actually, I have to take that back. This goes way harder than Dark Side of the Moon Redux. Can we get an album of this instead? To his credit, I guess, Roger full-blown said this wasn't meant to be a replacement for the original record or anything like that. At least he's not delusional enough to know where his checks come from. But still, who in the hell was asking for this? It's supposed to be like a colder version of the record. It's supposed to be a harsher reminder of the themes from the original album, but really, all these performances remind me of is the fact that Roger Waters was never a very good singer. Even back in the day, Waters wasn't necessarily much for carrying the tunes. And the problem with redoing Dark Side of the Moon specifically is that, you know, David Gilmour was carrying most of it. So you either got to find a replacement singer or step up and do the job yourself. Even for a young Roger Waters, I wouldn't have been on board for that. But now that Roger Waters sounds like an elderly vampire narrating his memoirs, except his memoirs are really boring and incoherent.
I don't have any compassion for broke boys. Everybody has an asshole. Most people have dick and balls. Go outside and get a bag.
Like, I make the joke, but Dracula Flow does go harder than this.
This shit ain't nothing to me, man.
I listen to this and I know that Henny got me fucked up. I listen to this and all I think is, shut up, Grandpa, I'm trying to hear the keyboard solo. I mean, Dark Side is definitely an album that's aged with time, but even today, the original still has a lot about it that holds up. It's an old album that can still feel young and alive when you put it on. But Waters' new version here, it's literally the shambling, broken, bitter old man version of the young record. And with U2's self-congratulatory masturbation exercise, at least it sounds like they had fun making it. This is a reimagining that sucks all of the life out of the original. It's a completely colorless, gray, and empty reinterpretation of one of the most colorful, bold, and vibrant prog rock records of the entire 70s. This motherfucker literally could have gone with any color he liked, and the bitch chose gray. Complete waste of time, an awful, shambling zombie of a record, and motherfucker, if you even think about touching Wish You Were Here, you, me, and her are gonna have words. Whew. And now we get to number one. I can sit here and do like I always do and build like the suspense and the drama, or like pull a cheeky little fake out like I like to do sometimes, but like, come on. Y'all didn't see it in the countdown, so y'all have probably already guessed it. Y'all are probably already fighting in the comments about it right now, aren't ya? Aren't ya? You've been fighting about it in the comments this whole time, just waiting to see it, didn't ya? I know your crimes. I try my best to come up with original ideas and come up with interesting transitions for these bits, but sometimes, I don't know, sometimes all you can do is just give it to the people straight. So you know what? We'll give it to you straight. We'll tell you how it be. And you know why we're gonna do that? 'Cause we love you.
We love you.
You know, I will say, for everything I'm about to say about this record, I will admit, and I do mean this sincerely, I respect it. I respect the hell out of this record, because what have I been banging on about this entire video? How 2023 was the year to try new things, how the artists that did, some of them at least, produced some of the best material of the year by being bold enough to think outside the box and be creative in a way that hadn't been explored before. I'm glad A7X got the memo there, I genuinely am. On top of that, they probably didn't have to either. I don't think anyone was expecting much more out of Avenged Sevenfold than just another Avenged Sevenfold record. They could have farted out a bit of the old, same old this year, and I don't think anybody would have given them any guff about it. They didn't have to think outside of the box, but they did. And credit where it's due. They had grander ambitions, they saw that brass ring and just decided to reach for it. I respect the ambition, I genuinely do. It's the execution I don't respect as much. Holy shit, y'all, holy shit. Maybe it's just because I'm not the biggest Avenged Sevenfold fan. Maybe it's because I'm an old head, and Maybe it's just because I already know what a Mr. Bungle album is supposed to sound like. But this is one of those albums where I desperately wanted to like it, but...
No, this might sound crazy, but I've smelled the plastic.
I'm sorry, I got ears, dog. That ain't happening. This thing sounds like shit. The production is trash. The mix is warbly and wonky. It does nothing to elevate the album's few better moments. But again, it also does feel like another situation where they're just working with what they got, and what they got on this thing. The best producers in the world couldn't save this thing. The synth choices and electronic elements are truly some of the worst, fartiest, broken Atari 2600 sounding shit they could have gone with. The song structures and general construction are absolute dog shit, complicated just for the sake of being complicated with no rhyme or reason to them. Ideas from other songs get slotted into entirely different songs without any consideration for their tone or their sonic texture, or if they'd work together, or if they even sound like they should be on the same album. And yeah, people gave me shit for that. Oh, I'm sorry, his complicated album too complicated for Mr. Thicky Dum Dum. I'm sorry, we don't like complicated records. I'm sorry, we're a pleb. And like, no, Stradivarius, I know what they're trying to do here. This isn't over my head. I get what they're shooting for. I'm just saying they did a shitty job at it. How many times do I have to tell folks? Just because you tried doesn't mean you succeeded. Honestly, I'm surprised more people aren't disappointed with this record. For guys who claim to worship at the altar of Mike Patton, who say they wanted to make something in the vein of Mr. Bungle or Tomahawk and all that, yo, I'm just saying, I figured they'd be better at that. It's like studying all week for the test, but still failing it. How do you even do that? I don't know, maybe don't study for the test while you're all fucked up on DMT and NFTs and all that stupid shit. God, imagine if the original rumors about this album were true and these guys pulled a Spiritual Machines 2 and tied the release of this album to an NFT. Yeah, would y'all still be out here simping for this if you had to build a crypto wallet? And like, y'all, I'm sorry, but M. Shadow's voice is in ruin. He sounds terrible. I admit the live shows do sound a teensy bit better. I did look up some of that footage, but like in the live shows, they pitch everything down and they let him switch to screams sometimes. They make it so he doesn't have to hit those high notes, but this record forces him to jump to those places he can't reach anymore, and they do it a lot. He sounds like his larynx is gonna jump out of his throat and smack him. I don't care what the other critics may have said. I don't care what the general consensus may be here. Y'all aren't changing my mind. This thing is dog shit. But, it is interesting dog shit. It is straight up fascinating dog shit. I feel like this album did have the highest goals and the loftiest ambition, and it also failed the hardest at meeting those expectations. That's why I decided it needs to be my worst of 2023. They aimed the highest and missed the target the hardest. But again, credit where it's due, they did try. This thing is earnest. This is honest. They poured their heart, souls, and bodies into this record, and it does show. And I'm honestly not even all that surprised it did end up finding an audience. While I would say it's miserable in execution, I can't say that all of the ideas here were necessarily bad. I see why folks did see something they enjoyed in this. And you know, I don't even want to take that from you. I mean, as much as I ramble on and on, I don't want to take that from you. If you enjoy this record, more power to you. Hey, you ain't got to take my harsh words. You ain't got to take that shit to heart. I'm just some idiot on YouTube. Man, I don't know. Don't listen to me. Even I don't listen to me. But I do want to just lay it out there that if you are a defender of this record, I would hope that it encourages you to seek out some other whacked out heavy artists out there. Because, guys, the folks that Avenged Sevenfold were trying to emulate, they do this so much better. I'm glad you liked this, but better universes exist than this, y'all. The Residents, Cardiacs, Dog Fashion Disco, Mr. Bungle, Tomahawk, Faith No More, Phantomas. Look, basically just Google Mike Patton's name and you'll find 50 of your next favorite bands. Thank me later. I'm just saying, all you snide motherfuckers who are like, oh, I guess this album's too much for you. Pfft. Homie, please. You out here smoking mids like this and telling me it's Golden Kush? I've hit off that crotch duster shit. You're gonna smoke runts and tell me that's that good? I fucking dare you to spleef this crotch duster shit. Hit the mammal sauce, you brave motherfucker. I dare you. And B, again, if you're willing to defend this record, I ain't gonna judge you. More power to you. You do you. But I feel like you need to hear it from me. Because I'll tell it to you straight, okay? I'll look you in the eye and let you know how it's really going to be, all right? If you're going to defend this album, you're going to have to realize that this is Avenged Sevenfold Saint Anger. It is. It is. Look me in the eyes. You know I'm fucking right. You're going to get a lot of weird looks, and you're going to probably have to spend an entire lifetime defending this shit. Be prepared to say, yeah, but what you don't get is this, over and over and over again. That's all I'm saying. To me, this record is a failure. But it is an extremely interesting failure. And again, in a backwards kind of way, that's worth celebrating. At least it wasn't boring. At least it wasn't rehashed, meaningless dreck. It's something you can talk about. It's something you can have a discussion about, and it's something you can certainly have a wide variety of opinions on. And I'm happy to give that prestigious title to a record that feels like it genuinely deserves it. For as bad, good, and ugly as this album gets, it is worth talking about, regardless of how you feel about it. I'd rather give the top spot to something like this, that tried and failed, than something that was cynical or lazy or hateful. It isn't any of those. And for that, I am very, very grateful. But when I put it on to listen to it,
And we love you.
I will look you dead in the eye and say this, mammal sauce is better. But that's the list. Thanks again for watching, people, and thanks for your patience while I've been AWOL here. Stay tuned for the best of 2023. That's coming along in January, along with some additional patron-only videos that'll be coming out too. Stay tuned for all of that. And stay tuned for this ass. Hi, everyone. So guess who rapped on shooting and forgot to put the $5 shout-outs in this vid? Me. It's almost like I've been gone for a few months and I'm super rusty. But yeah, special thanks to our $5 and above patrons, including Alexander Pullett, Liam, Aaron Walker, Lee Hazel, Mexican Link in 1986, The Pighead, Rowan Cookie, Mars Hunter, Stephen Hafner, Alex Sobolou, Warped Kia, Freddie Thomas, Nick Barrows Johnson, Jason Semir, Cole, Christian Toder, Lainey Wilson, Dylan Rare Hunter, Dominic Noble, Yoshi Taichi, David Prince, Chris Doman, Sarah Aubin, Michael K, Lilith Estelle, Jared Stone, Ted Z, and Rocked. Thank you very much. Back to past me. In the meantime, though, my name is Crash Thompson. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you when I see you. So many people are going to look up Crotch Duster now, and that's honestly the biggest crime I could have committed on this video. Like, I feel so bad for y'all. Have fun with that.